Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. And this is also the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel where we discuss pro wrestling for a variety of topics. This is the Blood and Guts AEW Dynamite review for the 29th of June, 2022. Two rings set up for Blood and Guts. Orange Cassidy has a new theme. It's Jane by Jefferson Starship. Before the match, Dan Lambert, bottle of orange juice in hand, speaks. He says that Orange can't match up to his heavyweight like Page. Orange Cassidy with best friends defeats Ethan Page with Dan Lambert. Orange immediately does the hands in the pocket deal and hits diving cross body, but it gets a one count. Page cuts him off with a big shoulder block, and Orange takes a high kick and twisting brainbuster for 2 count. Page goes for the ego's edge, but Orange counters it and reaches into his pockets. He tries the Rana and climbs the ropes. Lambert distracts and gets him back where he needs to be. Page sends some sign language to a kid in the crowd. Orange counters a brainbuster attempt into a stunner before nailing a spinning DDT for near fall. Orange then calls for the Orange punch. Lambert hops up on the apron. Orange gives him a few light strikes and then takes his orange juice, spits it in his face before hitting 2 orange punches and a body slam, which causes him to win the match. Yes, he won with a body slam. Christian Cage speaks. Tony Schiavone introduces him and brings him out. Christian asks what he had to say, but he's drowned out by boos. He said basically that he's sorry that Jungle Boy's whole family, other than his mother, didn't die, and basically says the mother should call him. Christian said the only good thing about Detroit is that it's close to Canada. He's requested a match this week, but not for him. It's for Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus with Christian Cage defeats Serpentico. Serpentico goes right into a headbutt and a German suplex. Luchasaurus plants Serpentico with a facebuster and locks on a nerve hold snare trap for the win. After the match, Christian tells Luchasaurus to continue the attack, and he obliged with a chokeslam on the floor. Ouch. Scorpio Sky and Wardlow are backstage face to face. Sky says that he's the champion for a reason. Wardlow says he doesn't care about the American top team. He'd beat every one of them next week in a street fight. Max Caster calls Danhausen a juggalo and mocks Flint, Michigan's drinking water. They build this as Danhausen alongside two mystery partners. It turned out to be FTR. FTR and Danhausen defeat Caster and the Gun Club. Austin and Cash start off. Dax then allows Danhausen to enter the match with a lateral tag. Gun Club and Caster isolate him in the corner and go through the commercial. Danhausen eventually escapes. Reaching Dax, FTR hits a stereo rolling German suplexes. However, we see Danhausen return, lands a pump kick on Austin and go to sleep. Billy distracts the official. Bowens runs in with a crutch, revealing he's healed, and then Danhausen avoids the crutch strike, and Danhausen covers for the win. Danhausen is one of my favorite AEW talents because he's different. Not because it's comedy, but because it is unique. After the match, Austin shoved Bowens, but Billy defeats the Acclaimed and shoved his son back, or defends the Acclaimed, rather. Then we go to Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh cutting a video promo. Dutt and Lethal demand that Joe sign the contract to defend the ROH television title at Death by Dishonor, and Satnam Singh says Jay's going to kill you. TBS champion Jade Cargill, Will Stokely Hathaway, and Kiera Hogan defeat challenger Layla Gray. Jade manhandles Gray right at the start, hitting a fallaway slam, nipping up. Gray is fired up and gets hit with a rising knee, but Jade levels her with a pump kick before hitting the Jaded for the win in just a couple of minutes. After the match, Hathaway was about to speak, but Jade grabbed the mic and said she's tired of everyone in the back complaining, and she demanded that Hathaway give her some real competition. Hathaway said that someone who didn't even work for AEW had the wherewithal to step into the ring with her, and then ultimately he calls Athena lazy, and Statlander and everybody runs out and runs in attacking Jade and Hogan. And then Gray is surprised by all of this. The Young Bucks are backstage. They said Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi were not worthy of a shot at the AEW Tag Team Championships, but they beat them in the Eliminator first. Then we go to Jim Ross joining commentary as they lower the cage. William Regal joins on commentary during Claudio's entrance. Jericho Appreciation Society comes out, and then War Games rules style match. As we kind of go forward, Blood and Guts, Blackpool Combat Club, Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler, Yuta, Eddie Kingston, Santana Ortiz defeat Jericho Appreciation Society as I grab my phone. Right before we cover the main event of this Dynamite show, we'll be back with more right after this. And again, in any direction that we're looking, kind of a, 5-on-5, 6-on-6 cage match. Again, Jericho Appreciation Society, Jericho Guevara, Hager, Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker with Ty Conti. There's a lot of people that are saying this is a great match. I'm not, of agreement with that. To me, there's way too much just needless throwing of things together. Jericho and Claudio start things off. Bell rings at right about just under a quarter past the hour. And then Claudio manhandles Guevara, hits a bunch of running uppercuts, and hits a beat down on Guevara. Guevara climbs in, tries to escape. Claudio then pulls him down into the ropes. Guevara then springs into the ropes to escape. Claudio then returns fire with a pop-up cutter. Guevara celebrates, allowing a giant swing or hits a giant swing on Guevara, and Garcia is the next entrance. And then we go to commercial. Yuta then evens odds and comes back in, and a bunch of German suplexes. Guevara and Hager's out next. Jericho Appreciation Society takes out Yuta with a slam. Claudio and Hager take out smaller opponents with a bunch of throws, and Claudio then gets an upper hand before the main advantage allows Garcia to come back and bring things back in Jericho's direction. Jericho's Society is dominant until Moxley comes in for his side. He hits a suplex on Guevara and then takes out Garcia. Claudio bulldogs Hager into the chair. Moxley then produces a fork and carves up Garcia's forehead for his trouble. Parker then comes in, but the opponents are in control and they run away with the match until they corner him. Claudio crushes him with a gut-wrench suplex. Finally, the rest of Jericho's team comes back, and they come back with a bunch of weapons. Ortiz even things out for his teams, and he goes nuts ahead of the break. Moxley hits a piledriver on Parker onto broken glass. Yes, broken glass, busting him open. I don't believe this should be on national television. Upon return, however, Maynard enters the match and smashes his opponent with a chair. Moxley is then busted open as well. There's a "We Want Tables" chant going on. Santana obliges getting into the match. He brings in a barbed wire bat. Santana runs wild, but when he hits a Uranagi on his opponent, he apparently blows out his knee or tears something in his leg because he goes down. But then Moxley grabs some skewers and stabs Maynard in the forehead. Maynard stops the attack pretty quickly. Jericho then goes after things with the full extent for his team, and then Floyd the Bat comes in. Ortiz manages immediately to take out his opponent with DDT and chokes him out on the chair. Then there's the essential parade of big moves, spots, as one would expect. The official start of the match occurs when Kingston enters. He beats down the Jericho Society with a kendo stick, and Jericho tries to escape the cage, but Kingston smashes him repeatedly with the stick. Kingston produces rubbing alcohol, but gets cut off before he could use it. Parker is covered in blood, probably in one of the more gruesome things in the last at least 20 or 30 years as far as blood is concerned. Blackpool Combat Club teams up in control, and then powerbombed Hager through a table. Santana is still injured and immobile, knee injury along the way. Yuta and Moxley produces the need for me to answer my phone, and we will go forward from there in just 2 seconds. But needless to say, the fight continues to be even more, I guess you'd say, intense. Although it's more about being, and again, ultimately, it comes down to kind of the match just being a cluster for the sake of spots. If you're going to do this type of match, it should be on pay per view. People should be paying for it. It should be built up for months, not weeks, and ultimately should be something that is allowed to go in the direction it needs to go. Anyway, Santana is obviously immobile due to the injury. Then there's use of thumbtacks and boards, exposing the ring boards. Moxley suplexes Maynard onto attacks, and Parker is strung up by his ankles. Baku Combat Club is in control, and then they go to another commercial break. Kingston and Jericho are going at it when we come back. Kingston has the upper hand. Jericho takes him out with a fire extinguisher. Conti gets involved and takes over the official, leading to Soho coming out to brawl with her. So we have more people involved in the match. Jericho then escapes structure and climbs to the top of it. Kingston pushes him off to the top. They fight out, leading Kingston nailing with a Hurricane, and then Guevara climbs up to the top, cutting Kingston off. His attack on Jericho, and then it probably goes on too long up there. Kingston hit Guevara with a low blow and then tosses him off the top. Blood and Guts threw something of like a table at ringside, more like a crash pad. After one final commercial, Jericho puts Kingston walls of Jericho on top of the structure. Claudio climbs up and booted Jericho to break that up, and he gives Jericho the giant swing on top of the cage, and then sets in for the sharpshooter, but Menard climbs up and cuts him off. Kingston then locks Jericho in the stretch plum, and Claudio applies the sharpshooter. Maynard taps out, giving the Combat Club the win. After the match, Kingston is frustrated because he wants to tap but Claudio wins the match before he could. He then also looked like he might be injured, and he didn't move from his position on the cage until the very end. Blackpool Combat Club getting the win is good for business, but overall a cluster of a show that belongs on pay-per-view. At least this match does, and I'm not a fan of the breakneck pace. You're in this as a marathon, not a sprint, and it's not what National Wrestling needs to be. In any event, we'll be back with more right after this.